Airfield management is a very unique career field. We have anyone from airman basics to A1Cs that are having to talk to maintenance NCOs, pilots, and correct them if they are wrong with certain issues. We have airman basic that are pulling over drivers that might have committed a violation, and it can be a very interesting dynamic to have them go through.
Airfield management is everything safe on the airfield. We deal with pavement evaluations, parking plans, we deal with snow operations, we do prior permission requests for landing for transient aircraft. So we really have our hand in everything on the airfield.
Without airfield management, we wouldn't be able to have a runway. Without airfield management, there's no one for tower to put in the pattern. There's nothing for maintenance to get them out onto the runway to launch. And without CE and us keeping everything open, we wouldn't have a runway at all, so we wouldn't have a Fairchild.
When our east ramp is just covered in seagulls, we'll run them off, and you want to run them to water because birds naturally, when they get to the water, they disperse on their own. So we have what's called bangers and screamers. They're two different shots. And if we had birds in front of us here or on the flight line, we can shoot the pistol and it'll actually fire a banger, it'll pop, or a screamer will scream like a bottle rocket, and it basically scares the birds off in a direction. So the point of moving birds is you'll know where you want to push them and then get behind them in that fashion if we have to walk out in the grass or on the pavement. And ideally we want to always go to the water. Well, since we have planes and stuff here, we don't want to push them back into the plane, so we'd want to push them towards the river this way. So shooting the pyro, we have these little blasting caps and a small revolver. This is a banger, and it essentially just goes in. We ready? So this is a screamer. You can see the difference in sound. Yeah, he ain't coming back. So what's good about this job is you really are, to me, you're on the flight line. I was a former crew chief, so I think the Air Force's business is airplanes, so you're out here really a part of what the planes, as far as taking off and landing, the safety, you're really part of the safety. So right up here is into runway, so when the jets land, these crew chiefs, they'll be usually a specialist and a weapons guy, will pin the jet, safety the jet back up before it goes back across into the shelters. So generally we'll kind of come by and check out the area before they get there, or we'll kind of buzz around while they're out here to make sure they got everything they need, because when the jets come down, these guys get really busy. Can't get more rad than that.
My name is Senior Airman Benjamin, and I'm an Airfield Management Shift Lead. Airfield Management is a complex job. Starting off in the office, we send flight plans, we flight follow. We send notice to airmen, which alert pilots of potential hazards while they're flying. We're in charge of the airfield driving program, so we monitor drivers on the airfield. We pull them over, we do spot checks, make sure everybody's compliant. We come out onto the airfield and we do airfield inspections.
Go for airfield sweeper.
That's going to involve pavement, airfield markings, we do airfield lighting checks. We check obstructions to make sure planes don't encounter anything hazardous while they're flying. One of the complicated parts of our job is probably just always staying alert.
What flight plan are you doing today?
You never know when that crash phone's going to ring and an aircraft is in distress, and we need to be alert and on top of it all the time. A common thing, if you ask somebody what they do in the Air Force, they're going to say planes don't fly without me. I would say I fit into that as well, just by saying, planes can't fly without an airfield, they can't fly without a safe operating area, they can't fly without flight plans. I'm really invested in airfield management just due to the fact that there's something new every day. It really is an important job. I'm in part of the ops. Ops is always fun to be a part of, just because there's so much happening all the time. A lot of behind the scenes stuff, that I get to come out my back door and watch C-130s take off.
I'm Staff Sergeant Zachary McDaniel. I'm Airfield Management Operations Supervisor at RAF Mildenhall. Airfield management, we maintain the whole airfield, so anything that goes on in the airfield, we know about it. Flight operations, so we know when aircraft are going. We file the flight plans for those aircraft. We coordinate with Tower to let them know what's going on, and when they let us know when aircraft are taking off so we can track those times, and coordinate with a bunch of different agencies across the base, whether it's flight operations, construction. We just make sure everybody's in the know so everybody's safe as possible for the planes to take off. So every day at around 7:30, once it becomes daylight, I'll go out on the airfield and we have to inspect every single inch of pavement, whether it's the pavement, the markings. We make sure everything is safe for the aircraft, make sure the markings are clear for the pilots to see where they're going. We're checking for the runway condition, which is like if it's dry or wet, because there's certain braking actions for each aircraft. If it's wet, it's like a car. It takes longer for them to brake and such.
Airfield 1 crossing runway 1 at hotel will report when off. Airfield management is 24/7. We operate or opened airfield for the entire panhandle. We are the overseer of all operations that happen within the airfield environment. Ground, Airfield 1 is off runway 1 at hotel, thank you. In the morning, it takes between 2 and 2.5 hours to go down each taxiway and to check each ramp to make sure like there's not a stalled vehicle or there's not some equipment out of the way or there's not damage to the pavement. There's a break-in right there. That's why you have to go slow and check all these cracks out. So I'll report this to CE and they'll come out and fill in the cracks and we'll have more black tar out here.
We were the boss of the airfield. We ensure that the airfield is good for civilian aircraft as along with our military aircraft that are going to take off and land. To make sure there's nothing that's not supposed to be there, animals, rocks, dirt, things like that. We also make sure we know who's coming in, who's coming out, and just ensure that it's safe for everyone. If we make sure it's safe, then everyone knows where they're supposed to be. We ensure that the pavement is free of all foreign objects so that they don't ingest in their engines to cause problems. We ensure that the environment that they are operating in is safe and we have a runway for them to take off and to return. The airfield itself is the tip of the spear because if we didn't have the airfield, the aircraft or any of the missions could not launch. I see my effect on the mission every single day. I see, as soon as I file a flight plan, I get a call that aircraft took off or I'm out there when they take off. And it's pretty gratifying to know, like, hey, I'm part of the reason that he got to take off safely and come back safely. So I'd say that's a really cool part.
What I like about my job is that it keeps me grounded. So in airfield management, I get to see the best of both worlds. I get to see the roads in the sky. In airfield management, we maintain a secure airfield to ensure that the aircraft land and take off safely at a moment's notice. So on a day-to-day, we inspect the airfield to ensure the safety of the aircraft when landing and taking off. We also submit their flight plans to make sure that ATC and other centers have their routes. And with the airfield inspections, we drive out and you ensure that all the runways and taxiways are secure. So in airfield management, we need to make sure that we're here first because without us, no one's going anywhere. I'm at Northern Strike now and I'm utilizing this as training. It's something that I don't get to do at Andrews. I get to work with different branches and other people from different bases. If you ever have the opportunity to come to Northern Strike, I highly recommend it.